All right, I think this is my 4th review tonight that I'm filming to catch up on things. I can't remember. I have no idea what's going on. I just want tickets to Five Nights at Freddy's. I think I might have said that in another video, but I'm very excited about that. So I get to see that Wednesday. So that'll be really cool. So I saw When Evil Lurks, adored it. I really love that movie. I will consistently say that I would have gone a different direction in the end, but I was sold by it more or less. Just because I don't like a certain type of genre doesn't mean that it isn't good, right? That's something that I have found recently in my life, is that just because I don't like some genre or something, let's just say like a B movie, that doesn't mean that it isn't objectively good or objectively entertaining. So anyway, so I saw Terrified, which was his first film or a previous film. I don't know if it's first one. I didn't do enough research, blame me. And this is actually really put Argentinian horror on the map. I kind of feel like, I could be completely wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Don't correct me if I'm wrong. I want to be right. And it's kind of a film in the vein of Conjuring. I think it was like kind of like an Argentinian Conjuring. So there's these houses in this neighborhood that's haunted. This neighborhood as a whole that is haunted. In theory, well, that's what they say. And it's about these 3 psychics or 3 paranormal investigator people who decide to come into this neighborhood and figure out what's going on. Each house has its own kind of monster in a way, and like so each character is dealing with that monster that's in the house. And before that, you get to really experience the people in those houses and how they were affected by these things prior to people coming in. A lot of wonderful elements and a lot of cool things there. It had the setup. It really had a strong setup. I truly believe, like, the characters were cool. I felt they were pretty fleshed out for the most part, minus like the lady psychic. She really wasn't whatsoever. The acting was awesome. There were some very creepy scenes in the beginning with showing the people in their own houses. Like, I would have been scared if I was in those situations. I mean, shit, look, if even something fell off the wall in here, I would be scared. The problem being is once it got into going into the houses, although I was scared, I screamed numerous times. That was terrifying. There was like some really scary scenes, like slight jump scares, like they weren't necessarily a jump scare. I screamed. The problem being was it didn't commit to like figuring out what was going on. Like, you never find out what's happened. I'm sorry, I don't care if that's a spoiler. Like, I don't want you to watch something that you don't have a resolution. And that was like the problem too, is I didn't figure out why something happened. Like, one of the things, the monsters, I don't know how to explain it, that's in one of the houses makes sense why it's there. It's a person that died there. The other ones, they don't explain exactly what's happening or why they're there, and so there's not a cohesion with this haunting, right? Like the order of operations of how this haunting happened seems to be explained, like what the catalyst was, except it's not. It's very peculiar. It's like it tried to find 3 different ghost stories and then put them together when it should have focused on just one. That's what I enjoyed about Conjuring or Insidious. I mean, the quality varies, but is that it's focused almost mostly on one thing, one monster, one entity, one spirit, something like that, where you're able to bring these characters together in order to fight one thing. And I felt like the movie treated the neighborhood curse as the big baddie, but the problem with that is that we never got to have that interaction. That what's it called? What's happened when like the good guys hit the bad guys and then they attack each other? We never were given that. It was very much like a tease and then gone. And I don't know if it was because they wanted the movie to have a sequel. I do find that sometimes really frustrating where a movie that could end and be final doesn't. I really just commit to one end. And I think it might be studio interference more often than not when that happens, or a director being like, I want to make a second one, I want to lead up to it if it's popular. And, if a movie's popular enough, it'll spawn its own sequel. Megan, I don't believe even ended with the opening, the possibility of a sequel. I mean, you can make one. And so that's what's sometimes frustrating with horror movies, is that they end non-ending wise. Like, the story itself does end, but there's always that last, like, haha, I gotcha, in the last 3 seconds. And I will say this film, I think unintentionally did that. And it's hard to explain. You'd have to watch it and see. It kind of felt like it was on the right track and then fell off the rails. And then it just kept going, thinking that it was still on the rails. It's the best way I can explain it. It was like, anyway, whatever. So there were some really scary scenes. There were some great monsters. I was scared. I yelled. And so I don't regret watching it. And it was kind of cool just to see that this guy is super talented. And this movie was super violent. And it was super graphic. And it was super, how would I say, like, visceral in a way where, like, deaths and just, like, the monsters and the way like, when people are turned into a monster, like, it's just, like, it gets under your skin. So it was cool to see that, like, when Evil Lurks, which is this guy's second film, he seemed to have been able to hone in a bit more on that, like, neighborhood problem, that neighborhood haunting, that neighborhood, like, chaos. It's very similar. They're both, like, about that sort of thing. People being taken over by these hauntings, or in the case of an Evil Lurks, like, kind of a possession. So, I really respect when somebody is able to focus better. The director focused better in a second film. I definitely think this is worth watching. I would say watch this one and then watch When Evil Lurks. I think it's a good, they work really well together. And it was very well done for what it was. I think it was another case of just, unfortunately, maybe being too ambitious. First directors being ambitious is just something that I will harp on again and again and again and again. What's nice about that opportunity, if you're ambitious in your first film, is that if you listen to what people say and really think about what, like, was good and what worked and what didn't, you can create a second film and third film or whatever, a film that utilizes what worked. Being self-reflective, like, if I were to be a director or a writer, being self-reflective of just, like, what, and being, like, really objective. And, like, the problem being objective about your work is, like, you're reading the stuff and have to recognize you fucked up. Like, or you might have fucked up when you spend so much time and money on something like that. I don't think people want to recognize that. And I think this director did. And I respect that. So I don't even know where I was going with that. So that's pretty fantastic. And then, like, an opposite example is Ari Aster, where I felt like he started so strongly with a solid, focused, clear vision. They went to Midsommar, which was bloated and just kind of went a bunch of different directions. And then Beau is Afraid, which I haven't seen it, don't plan to really. Was just so untethered and, like, unhinged. So it's kind of like he went the opposite direction, where I think he might just be spiraling. So anyway, I think this movie was fun. I think it was also on Shudder. I have AMC Plus, which I recommend because it's, like, only like $2 more, and you get, like, the AMC channel, which I don't utilize, so I guess I really didn't need just Shudder. I still want Shudder to be 1080p. I still think it's 720p. I was just watching The Puppet Man going backwards, and unfortunately the darks were really grainy because of that reason. It kind of just surprises me. Anyway, whatever. God, I have so much to catch up on this week before I start my new job next week. I've been watching so much stuff. So much.